still making our way back down, but in the interest of getting us all back in schedule, I'm going to make a start. You're going to be on the move in about 25 minutes with the 3 breakout sessions, so probably for the first time in 2 hours you're going to have a decision to make that isn't, should I have the carrot ginger shot or a croissant? And I will talk you through the 3 sessions shortly. But first we're going to go to the whole theme of deepfakes that we've heard coming up repeatedly. And we saw the deepfake of bromance that is Musk and Trump earlier doing what was probably their version of YMCA. So to go a little bit deeper on all of that and look at to understand the risks of deepfakes and to capture them, there's going to be a couple of questions that Brian is going to tease through now. How do you defend against what you can't trust your eyes or ears to detect, and how deepfake technology can bypass traditional security controls and road trust and be weaponised for social engineering and disinformation. So give it up for Brian Martin, Director of Product Management at Integrity 360. Thank you.
Should we be worried about deepfakes? Is it just sensationalist headlines, but from a cyber risk perspective, it's is it noise, or is it actually something we should be worried about? Should we be like Angelo's David here, who looks very worried here, given that he was rated in 1501, so likely he was thinking about deepfakes at the time. He's probably wondering, why am I here? Why are people staring at me? Why am I completely naked? But it is a very important question, because the technology is evolving and is moving from the perspective of what can be done to emulate real-life entities. Just by way of a kick-off example, this is a picture of Albert Einstein in 1921. And I taught the model that came out last month from ByteDance, the only human one model, which now has the ability to take a still image and do a lifelike kind of recreation of the video around it. I thought it would be a good example just to kick off what we're looking at the moment. No sound? Can we just get the sound on there too? Can you tell us when the sound do you think is on? It's on here. We did test this earlier.
What would our be like without emotions? It would be empty. What would our lives be like without emotions? They would be empty of values. So a famous classical poet said, "We hate and we love. Can one tell me why?" Fatuous. Science does not answer why questions.
So what you can see here is that the generative AI models now, they've gone way beyond just static manipulation of lip syncing, etc. We get whole body movement, head movement, and there are other examples where we can see things moving in the background as well. So that ultra-realistic deepfake technology is here today. So start out, well, what do we mean by deepfake? Because let's start with a good definition. So a deepfake is synthetic media, including images. It can be images, video, audio, and text created using deep learning technologies, and often includes a combination of generative AI methods to create, what is a realistic impression of an identity. And, not to be confused with what are also known as cheap fakes. So, some of you may have seen during the US election video of Joe Biden seemingly wandering off aimlessly, but actually it's just they cut out other people from the screen. So that would be more like a cheap fake, it's not using generative AI technology, just a little bit of video editing. So the deepfake is when you're using those more advanced modern techniques around AI and machine learning to generate those realistic images. And what can they be used for? What's their purpose? particularly in the context of cybersecurity? Well, it's about impersonating identity. If you think about it, all the use cases for deepfakes are impersonating identities for a particular purpose or reason. And it can be, in a lot of cases, for amusement, it's for entertainment. We go online, we see a funny video of Elon and Trump dancing, etc. But it can also be used for distribution of disinformation, conducting fraud, inflicting a reputational damage on someone by putting words in the mouth of someone who hasn't said those things. It can be heavily used in social engineering, as we'll see shortly, and it can be used to bypass authentication and ultimately to steal data or to steal credentials or be part of a cyber attack. So effectively it can be used as a step in the attack chain. And in terms of should we be worried, what are the trends? Well, you can see here that deepfake attempts occurred at a rate of 1 every 5 minutes in 2024. So that is, they haven't been around that long, right? So, the pace of the utilization of deepfakes is only on the increase. And deepfakes actually account for 40% of all biometric fraud based on research from data from 2024. So already, being used quite heavily in many spheres. Yeah, the top most targeted industries for deepfakes is where the money is, if you like. Cryptocurrency, lending, banking, financial institutions, but in fact all sectors are being targeted and remain vulnerable to the dangers of deepfakes. So where are the deepfakes being used? They're being used primarily in 4 vectors, if you like. First being in digital communications. So whether that's fake video, audio, messaging, number 1. Number 2 is biometric authentication, because a lot of systems use face and audio, voice recognition in terms of authentication processes. Influence operations, so fake media and videos and pictures to drive a particular narrative or agenda is another vector. And then in application processes, submission processes, very often onboarding processes to verify identities, and you see them also quite prevalent in those spaces as well. So I'm quickly going to go through each of these 4 topics, which is basically the niche of this presentation, and conclude at the end. I'm going to ask, just given the time, to try and go quickly, so you might see me, dwell more or less, depending on the topic in question, but I'll try and get through everything crisply. Probably one of the biggest things around generative AI and deepfakes is the current ease of voice cloning today. So I did a webinar that's available online on our website last year around threat exposure management. That content is available to view and to download. And here's me speaking. And the most important thing, I think, to think about exposure management is that attackers chain exposures to build attack paths within your environment. We're all familiar with the MITRE ATT&CK framework. Okay, so there's actually quite a lot of audio from me talking about threat exposure management. So just to show how easy it is to clone the voice, I downloaded that content, I extracted the audio. Some of the tools don't even have to extract the audio, you can just throw in the video. Put it through a voice cloning application. Within a few minutes, I was able to clone my own voice with the audio, and I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high or vales and hills. When all at once I saw a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze. So I never spoke those words. That was just literally my voice. By entering the text, using my clone voice from the audio I had taken from our website, I was able to effectively put any words, speak any words in my voice. And if you think about it, there's so much content, audio content, video content of people out there online that this is really so easy to do these days, so anybody can create a realistic impression of anybody's voice. The word now is that literally only 5 to 10 seconds of someone's voice, you can do a fairly realistic clone of their voice, and then put any words towards it with text to speech. The upside of it is now I speak 27 languages. So, for example, here's me speaking William Wordsworth in Italian.
Vagava solitario come una nuvola che galleggia in alto sopra valli e colline, quando all'improvviso vidi una folla, una schiera di narcisi dorati, accanto al lago, sotto gli alberi, svolazzanti e danzanti nella brezza.
That's very good, actually. Hopefully it was a good translation. I use Google Translate, so I can't 100% guarantee it's perfect. So, yeah, the use cases for audio are manifold. Think about it, voicemail messages, audio messaging on WhatsApp, live audio conversations, using clips of people's voices, audio conversations, going onto a teleconferencing, onto your Teams call, but being off camera because, my camera's playing up today, I can't switch on my camera. So there's loads of use cases whereby audio can be used and also combined with video deepfakes as well to provide very realistic impressions of people. On the video side, there was a case last year where a finance employee was defrauded, and a company was defrauded of $25 million US. It was an employee in Hong Kong who got some messages, urgent messages about some financial transactions that need to take place. He was a bit suspicious initially, but got called onto a video conference with the CFO and other team members, and by the end of the call, he fully believes it was a genuine request, command, if you like, from the business to make these transfers, and went on to transfer $25 million across 5 different accounts. The analysis thereafter showed that the distractors used publicly available video footage of staff members to create deepfake video and audio. They had pre-generated content to play on the call in real time. They had multiple AI-generated personalities to attach to it, and they fed it all in through a standardized video conferencing platform. They also used your typical social engineering tactics in terms of creating urgency and things like that to get the employee to respond. I would say that this is a really good example of where video deepfakes have been successful for a threat actor. There have been other cases where it's failed. You don't find massive volumes of cases where it's been successful. So I think the threat of audio deepfakes is actually, from the concept of cybersecurity and social engineering, is the primary one. But video is catching up and the tools are getting better, and there are API toolkits becoming available that you can plug into video conferencing platforms to start doing things like real-time voice synthesis into the platform and things like that. So this is evolving, and I think the video side will definitely take off even further in the not too distant future. Messaging is the third area. So attackers masquerading as legitimate authority figures with an urgent request or action, and luring employees to, with personalized messages using generative AI, particularly things like language, spelling, grammar, including relevant details, and the often combined with, other forms of deepfakes. So the messaging might be the starting point. The target victim is initially a bit suspicious, but then they get a voicemail, or in the case of the Hong Kong employee, get pulled up to a video conference and become convinced that it actually is the genuine article. There was a case last year of an employee with Ferrari being targeted exactly in this manner. Started out with messaging. There was a picture of the CEO in the profile of the WhatsApp person who was contacting him, and a little bit suspicious, ended up on a voice call where the voice very much sounded like the CEO. But he got a little bit suspicious, just some little alarm bells went off, and he asked the attacker about some book recommendation that the person had made the previous week, and the caller couldn't answer the question, so they hung up and they managed to thwart the attack. We've had cases as well in our business. We've had executives in one of our locations targeted by a very, very similar method, and ended up on a voice call, but luckily enough was able to detect the threat. But this technique of messaging to audio and sometimes video is on the rise, and we're seeing it more now. So, what I would say is, how do you defend yourself against deepfake social engineering? Well, evaluate your processes and controls for susceptibility to deepfake ID in impersonation, particularly for mission critical or high stakes transactions, whether it be payment profiles, updating, your payees, or transferring funds, or even like your help desk in terms of password resets is a common technique. You call in and say, can you reset my password, or for me because I've lost it, and it sounds like the genuine article. Sharing sensitive information, and any high stakes, you just need to review those review those activities and what are those robust in the face of these types of attacks, and strengthen those processes, whether it be transaction or authorization, verifying independently, not just on the basis of something on audio or video or on a message. It's crucially important. And generally the same, as Rich was saying earlier, good cyber hygiene has never been more important. Educate and test the workforce regularly, and because this is a new vector of attack, you need to test the new methods. So not just your regular email, phishing email testing, but also be testing the WhatsApp side, the messaging side, the audio side, and make sure that whichever provider you're using for that type of testing, that you incorporate those elements into your testing as well. There's technology evolving around real-time deepfake detection on platforms, such as Microsoft Teams and Zoom, etc. They're fairly nascent at the moment, but those it's an arms race, as we said previously. So as the attack types change and morph, then the tools also will be changing. So you need to be cognizant and be aware of what's available in there as well. Secondary, then, biometric authentication, fooling face and voice authentication mechanisms. So automated voice recognition is commonly deployed in contact centers, in some IT service desks, some banking apps have them as well, and they are threatened by voice deepfakes or deepfake audio. On the video side, then, identity verification processes using face recognition are quite common out there now, and becoming more common on user devices. You have them on Windows, you have them on mobile phones, you have them on other types of authentication processes. And those are susceptible to video-based and image-based deepfakes. So there are a couple of different types on the video side. So presentation attacks is usually just physical fake, but that fake can actually be, it can be an image, but it can also be on a screen emulating video, because a lot of the authentication mechanisms don't just look for a static picture match of the face, but also look for liveness, movement and things like that. So by creating a video fake of someone's face, you can potentially bypass that video authentication process. There's also another type called injection attacks, and the injection attacks inject the fake data directly into the stream, bypassing the camera or even the microphone on the device. So you can have things like virtual cameras. So cameras effectively masquerade, or pieces of software masquerading as cameras. So your device thinks that it's a camera, but in fact it's actually a stream of a video deepfake that's been fed in to emulate whatever it is the mechanism is trying to look at. You can also get network injection that's a bit more sophisticated, but that is a thing that is evolving as well for sophisticated threat actors, where they actually inject the deepfake stream into the network directly. So not going or emulating a camera, but actually comes straight on the network layer and passing it through that way. So these are things that also, from the point of view of biometric authentication, need to be mitigated. And so deploying deepfake audio detection in combination with other risk signals is very, very important. Favor solutions with a layered approach involving both biometric and non-biometric approaches. And I know we've been banging on about zero trust now for the last few years, but just a simple hygiene of better zero trust mechanisms, things like least privilege. So if someone does bypass a mechanism, then at least they're only getting access to what they should be getting access to, and continuous verification. So you don't get in once and get keys again, but they're constantly being re-authenticated is also another key factor. The third area then, influence operations. Listen, we've seen it. We know about it. We've seen it all in terms of political processes, various political actors injecting fake media online and then magnifying it virally across different platforms. So, whether it be targeting Ukraine, targeting the Democratic Party, or any party in the US or globally, this is just becoming more and more prevalent. And you can create disinformation and fake news with text, same vector as text, pictures, videos, audio. They're all tools in the armor of the people who want to spread this type of disinformation. What you've got is the likes of video deepfakes that use face swaps. So basically, you can see the people here on the left are moving their head, and then they can superimpose that movement on a static image to make it look like that other image is actually moving. So a lot of deepfake videos can be created using very, very straightforward and simple face swapping technology. And you also have, as I mentioned at the start, about fully generated AI, such as the Omni-Human. This is another example, one that was created just last month.
Boring is easy. Everybody can be boring. I do good at that. Life is not a game, people. Life isn't a cereal either. It is a cereal. And if life is a game, are we on the same team?
Lip syncing then is another tool that's heavily used, and it's a way of getting anybody to say anything. A simple Google search about how do I lip sync to create a deep fake video, and you'll see a whole plethora of tools pop up. The one down below, create a perfect deep fake lip sync in 1 minute. I did it. It took me a bit longer than a minute, but I took an image, a profile picture of me from a couple of years back, and lip synced it with the audio you heard earlier. And this is what the result was.
I wandered lonely as a cloud that floats on high or veils the hills. When all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils, beside the lake, beneath the trees, fluttering and dancing in the breeze.
So as you can see, the technology isn't just a static head going like this anymore, but now it's starting to generate movement, more realistic behaviors that can be a lot more easy to fool people with. So there's lots of impacts of disinformation. If it's targeted against an individual, it can be massively disruptive in terms of reputation, career. People can end up getting doxxed. And that can result in physical or online intimidation, and even the threat or the reality of violence, which has happened. Don't think that disinformation and this type of use case is only relevant for in the political sphere. Enterprises can be targeted too and can have catastrophic damages to the brand, reputational damage, can impact the stock price and the market value of the organisation. Customers can move away, you can be targeted by just spurious, you can be targeted by malicious competitors or by hacktivists or all sorts of different actors. this is highly relevant also in the corporate sphere. And then thirdly, if you're not-for-profit or in the public sector, even if it's not revenue impacting, it can certainly be, political support and opinion, public support, funding, getting volunteers, cooperation for your entity, can all quickly disappear in the face of this. So there's a few things you can do. So monitor and detect disinformation, so at least you know what's happening to you around. And there are a lot of existing tools out there to help you with that. There's digital risk protection that can help you monitor people trying to impersonate your brand or people online, and there's other tools to monitor social media and things like that. Then you need to figure out how to, do a situation assessment and what is the risk of that disinformation, to kind of accurately gauge how you should respond to it, develop an adequate response to disinformation, not just in the moment, but a bit like we're always telling our customers about incident response. Be prepared for an incident to respond to a cybersecurity attack. Equally, you need to have a response process for a disinformation or a fake news attack against your organization as well. And acting transparently, building credibility in the long run through your normal business operations and communications will help mitigate the impact of such an attack, because at least then you've established quite a lot of credibility out there before the attack happens. The final area, I'm going to skip quickly through, just given the time. So I mentioned application submissions processes are a big vector of attack. We're seeing a huge uptake in the use of deepfakes in identity fraud. A lot of organizations use these type of processes during onboarding of new customers, like in KYC processes, know your customer, and biometric fraud around identity is on the rise here. Using similar techniques I've already mentioned around presentation attacks and injection attacks, and often used in conjunction with stolen, fake, or doctored IDs in order to make that happen. So all of those things need to be aware of, and those can be used both to mimic legitimate stolen identities. So someone can steal some of my identity and then use that to open a bank account or get a loan or whatever it is under my name, but also the creation of synthetic identities where that actual identity doesn't actually exist in the real world is also a major factor for many organizations. And you can see here that fake or modified documents is still the biggest vector around here. However, significant impact in the top industries for audio and video deepfake fraud on the rise across all these industries. So, countering deepfakes, conclusions. Yep, stay aware and vigilant. You need to be aware of these types of threats so you know how to identify them and respond to them. Look at your processes and your controls and make them more robust in the face of these type of social engineering attacks, and test regularly to make sure they're in place. MFA has never been more important, but including biometric and non-biometric authentication methods. Monitor for disinformation and have a response plan in place. If you're doing a lot of identity verification, improve those tools and processes in line with some of the threats that I've been talking about, and implement zero trust, get real about zero trust, and make sure you're continuously verifying, not just letting somebody in once and then giving them full access. So I'm going to finish with a final word. I brought back to life an ancient warrior from the 5th century BC, Sun Tzu. Just wanted to say a few words before I finish up.
Thank you for attending Security 360's Security First Conference. I hope you found the talk informative. And remember, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. Thank you very much.
And thank you very much.